So I'm going to propose this evening that compassion is the essence of collaboration. And what can stall our collaboration and make it, I suppose you could say, less successful or less of an experience of connection, less of an experience of productivity and inclusion, is when we're working in a group to get something done, because that's what community action is about, right? It's creating change in our communities, and specifically when we're taking climate action, it can feel urgent, it can feel important. We're tackling some pretty big challenges at often a local level. And when we're working with others, it's easy to either witness or perceive people behaving unhelpfully or doing things unilaterally that don't aid collaboration or the working together or the synergy that can happen when we create that space that brings out the best in everyone. So let's imagine a scenario where in some way a person that you're seeking to work together with is behaving in a way we find difficult. That could be even ourselves, right? We're experiencing ourselves as not wanting to collaborate. We might be the one that's making unilateral decisions or moving ahead without other people and not really collaborating, and we're feeling maybe a bit conflicted about this. So in our scenario where the collaboration isn't going great, it's because we're not having a positive experience of it, and the behavior that we're experiencing or perceiving is hindering the effective working together, which ultimately means effectively taking action to create change together. So when we notice, let's think about a behavior in someone else that we don't like, that we think is getting in the way of effectively working together, we have a choice about how to respond. And you could boil it back down to two choices that impact ultimately on what happens. And that is an option to choose compassion or the option to choose resentment. And we do make that choice in all situations where we're responding or reacting to how someone behaves. And we can make that choice consciously or unconsciously. And either way, we end up in one of two places. And when we react in resentment, we embed anger and judgment and conflict, all of which creates distance. When we choose compassion, we create the conditions for understanding, support, and resolution. And we create connection. And in the culture or a group where making mistakes or failure is supported, people, whoever we are much more likely to flourish. And when we know it's okay to make mistakes, when we know it's okay to sabotage the group, we're not going to be kicked out, we can resolve it. We're likely to try new things, bring innovative ideas, and bring the whole of ourselves. And that's what we really need from each other and for our communities in order for them to really evolve and change in the way that we dream of. So it's worth thinking about what it is that influences this thing that I've suggested is a choice, like the compassion or the resentment. It'll be impacted by our mindset. And in this case, it's the extent to which we're living in a mindset of humility. So this is a mindset you could think of as a lens that through which we see everything or experience everything. So everything we look at is through this lens. And what's humility? Humility is thinking less about ourselves. So the extent to which we're thinking about ourselves is the extent to which we're able to extend compassion. So there's a quote by somebody who's quite influential in our work. He's a man called Sydney Banks, and he says that humility is not thinking less of ourselves, it's thinking of ourselves less. So when in a situation that we witness behavior that we think is really unhelpful or inappropriate, we can see through the behavior to the suffering or low mood or state of mind that the person behaving in that way may be in. We can extend compassion and understanding. If we're focused on how frustrated we are, on how difficult it makes things for us, or how big a problem we then experience, we're much more likely to choose resentment. So I hope that helps you to get a sense of why compassion is the essence of collaboration, or at least profound collaboration, because where we come from in our work with each other, with the caveat that we can't always control that, but we can have deeper understanding of what impacts where we come from in our work with others. It really matters. And being in a state of compassion matters for ourselves too, because we're all going to come up against ourselves behaving in ways that we prefer we didn't, that impacts other people and impacts our community and climate action. And that's okay, especially if we know how to navigate that and be compassionate with ourselves and others.